Hey, what's up, Scream Sceners, Screamers? Jody Bean here, Mr. Hunting the Dead, my homegirl, Krista. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Please smash that thumbs up, comment below, share this on social media. We post every week here, hashtag Screamers. Guys, today we're going to talk about the Blair Witch Project. Okay, so the actors from the Blair Witch, the original, they are and it looks like they're in a lawsuit. The actors are pushing for retroactive royalties. Krista, have you heard about this shit?
I actually have heard about it. Alicia was telling me about it a couple days ago. Actually, yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, she brought it to my attention, and it's pretty crazy.
it's a little cray. The cast behind the 1999 horror classic was paid mere thousands for a movie that grossed, check this out, almost $250 million. Now it's being rebooted, which was news to the actors. So, from what I understand, there was another Blair Witch, like a spinoff or something like that. I never knew about it until I just got a hold of this story. And I guess that in that spinoff or somewhat of a sequel, whatever you want to call it, they used the original actors' likeness, their voices, which without a new agreement, that's it's not illegal, but I mean it's grounds for like a lawsuit. So what do you think about this?
Are you talking the Book of Shadows? Like that?
Yes, the Book
What?
of Shadows.
Do we know if the actors signed NDAs or anything like that as far as their likeness being used again?
So I don't know that for a fact, but I will say this: the film was done through or Lionsgate is the one that picked this film up. They're the ones that got the rights to it, the master, I guess you could say. Um, I'm 100% sure. Yes, they did sign initial agreements, like a release form, contract, however you want to word it. However, that would have just been for one film. I don't think they ever thought that the Blair Witch Project was going to go on. How could they have anticipated that movie was going to go on to make $250 million? I still can't believe it's made 250 milski. That's crazy.
Yeah, they didn't have a very large budget either. From what I read, I think after everything was finalized, it was like what, 200,000 or something like that after all like edits and everything. But for it to make that much and them not get a kickback, I guess it all depends on what they were expecting to begin with. Because
Yeah.
I don't know that these actors have done anything outside of the Blair Witch. I'm not too familiar with the cast in general. So it's like I would have been super excited to just be in the film, but then you see it go on to make as much money as it did. It would be a nice respect thing to get a kickback from that, but it's not something that you can anticipate is going to happen. People don't just go handing out extra money. Doesn't work like that.
Well, very well said. I've told people this over time, and I've worked with people that have kind of told me this. And when you're doing independent films, any kind of independent films, but especially independent horror, you never know what's going to happen, no matter what film you're putting money into. You could have $50 million. It doesn't mean that film is going to be huge. People might know about it, but it doesn't mean that it's just going to blow up all to hell, right? I've told actors before that I've worked with and stuff, and they've never asked me. I've never had anybody say this. This is just the kind of guy I am. Let's say my movie Mallet ended up making $250 million. You're gonna see me like at some point. I'm just gonna like knock on your door or say, "Hey, check your bank account or check your PayPal, check your Cash App." Like I'm gonna be like, "Yo, we did really well. Here's a little bonus." I would just do that. That doesn't need to be in a contract, but not everybody's like me. They're not a super nice guy. Now, on the flip side of that is a lot of people in independent films, not a lot of people that I've worked with, but a lot of people, they bitch about the money that they get paid for these small productions. What they don't realize is you can't really get good jobs in the acting business, big paying roles, without having somewhat of a resume. So sometimes you have to take these smaller films and take the shit money in order to get to the position to get the big money, the better money, to be, for some people it's become union. But I've had people complain before, down the road, about being in some of my films where they're like, oh yeah, he only paid me $120 for a few hours of my time. And I'm like, damn, like, bro, that's really fucking good for somebody that had no acting experience. It was their first movie being it. It was like, damn, what did you want? I didn't know that my film was going to do good, but that seems to be the situation here. Is this film, nobody could have anticipated it was going to be as huge as it is. What, decades later here, and people still talk about it, still fans of it, and now they want a bigger piece of the pie. However, the only reason they might actually get it is because, and I haven't seen Book of Shadows, but supposedly their likeness was continued use in a new project outside of the original agreement.
So they're making money without their permission using their likeness. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. So I'm a little, I don't like taking advantage of people. So when I see them out there just trying to get what they can from somebody because there's a little bit more money out there, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, you had your day in the sun, you guys put out a good movie, you made money, let it go, move on to something else. Like you said, it leads to bigger and better roles. But on the other hand, that's a lot of money that they made off of that. But it's like, where do you draw the line? Are you going to get super greedy? Or are you just going to move on with your life and try to find a better role, do something better? I mean, that Blair Witch was a springboard for all kinds of found footage horror, like Paranormal Activity, and it just, like, the franchise blew up after that. It was a revival of the franchise, or the style, and I like the style, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it's a tough line. It's a thin line of what's morally right and what's greedy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something that should be sued over or even asked. I think that the film companies, just out of the goodness of their heart, would come back and do that. But as we know, that's not the way the world works. People are greedy, man, and there's a reason a lot of indie filmmakers choose to stay indie, because they see how cutthroat it is. They don't want to be a part of the machine and how the machine works. Again, if I was in that situation, this wouldn't even be a conversation. I would have went back and taken care of all these people. I mean, would it have hurt to give them each $1 million and say, hey, look, you got paid, such and such, but here's $1 million because we made 250 million. You still have enough money to make more films. You still are going to live better than you ever have. And it is kind of a sadness, man. I heard about a story. I think his name's John Witherspoon, the guy that played Craig's dad in the Friday movies, where he had said for the first Friday movie, he only got paid 10 grand. And Friday went on to make like $100 million. And he was like, and they never came back and gave us any bonuses or anything like that. So I'm hearing more of this,
Great.
and more of these stories right here. But I mean, nobody could call that Friday was going to be as big as it was. Nobody could call that the Blair Witch. They could have tanked, and these actors could have made more than the studio.
You see that in all kinds of businesses, though, not just filmmaking. There's so many low people on the totem pole that make things successful. Like, if you didn't have the people on the bottom line, your business is not going to succeed. But those people, they might get a company lunch. They're not giving them $10,000, $50,000 bonuses every year to say, hey, thanks for helping us grow our company. It just all has to do with the hierarchy of who's in control and what position you are playing. It's sad.
Absolutely. Right up right here says the creative team behind the 1999 hit horror film The Blair Witch Project is calling for increased retroactive compensation for the movie's 3 stars, as well as meaningful consultation on an upcoming reboot. So they want something to do with the reboot, whether it's financial or maybe a position or being a part of it or something,
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. The request The request came in form of an open letter spearheaded by Joshua Leonard, one of the film's stars, and posted to social media on Saturday, weeks after Lionsgate and Blumhouse announced the reboot.
At least they're trying to get in before the reboot comes out, because to me that makes more sense, because it's like, hey, give us a piece of the new thing that's coming out, not something that's already been done. But that's tough.
Well, listen to what this letter says here. He says, while we, the original filmmakers, respect Lionsgate's right to monetize the intellectual property as it sees fit, we must highlight the significant contributions of the original cast, Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Mike Williams. The letter reads, citing the two other leads along with Leonard, it continues, we celebrate our film's legacy, and equally, we believe the actors deserve to be celebrated for their enduring association with the franchise. Yeah. I
What
mean,
does celebrated mean, though?
yeah, give us $1 million each, right? um, well, there again, I've seen, because I go down this rabbit hole a lot. I read these stories, and I like to see where people's films. I like to see people's films. I like to see their stories where, yo, we only had $10,000 and a good idea and a camera crew and lots of heart and creativity, and we made this movie for 10 grand and it made $1 million. I'd love to see that, but in reality, people lose more than they win because this is a saturated market now. Horror is the easiest. Okay, that might be the wrong wording. It's an easier style to make because flaws are okay in horror films to a certain extent. Like, you can't have a lot of flaws in a romance or a comedy. It can just fall apart. But horror films, sometimes flaws are celebrated, I guess you could say, or they're funny. And that's one thing people like. I've seen some horror films, man, that I don't even know how they're on TV, but I still enjoy them. Like, it's almost like, wow, you didn't put no effort in all in that, but it's funny, it's creative, it's I don't know, it's entertaining to see how people's minds work, I suppose.
That doesn't necessarily make it easier, though, to film.
True.
It takes a skill to even do that.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. The fact that somebody's trying to make a movie, they deserve major kudos, because it is very hard, whether you're making a big production or a super small production. Whether you're making a movie on $400 or 400 grand, it still takes a lot of freaking work to film an hour and 20-minute running picture, editing it, finding people, finding locations, coming up with the script. So yeah, but I mean, you just never know what's going to happen with these things, and the deal needs to be done. The deal needs to be made before you make them, not years down the road, because I mean, the ball's really not on their court. Now, could this go in their favor? Of course. When you get in front of a jury, you never know what's going to happen. Correct?
Yeah, 100%. So I think stronger contracts going into it, like you were saying, get ahead of the game. Even talk about potential. If this movie makes this amount of money or this amount of money, we get an extra kickback.
That
Like,
sounds fair. Absolutely.
right. Like what you're saying for you, like you being a generous person, saying I'm going to go back and give my actors something. You seem to have all your paperwork in order, but if you're being generous, sometimes people can actually take advantage of that too and be like, oh, he's got extra money, I want more and more and more. And they might come back after you. But your generosity doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have your ducks in a row either.
Very, very true. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing for us before we'll even turn on a camera. I mean, we there have been people that we went to work with before, and they've started like acting like it's it's negotiable or something like that, and we're just like, look, this is what it is. If it's not your cup of tea, then that's fine. Well, I want so and so. Well, it's not really up for debate. It's a $10,000 budget picture. We have to do it this way. That's what we're doing it. And like I said, I know it's hard for some people to probably think that way. Like, well, maybe if this does good, they'll come back and bless me, because a lot of people won't.
Right.
But you know, like even me, I still not paid myself anything from my first movie that has done well. Instead, I'm using it to make more movies, which means I'm using it to make more people money, and I still have not seen any from it myself. Like, I have not even paid myself $1 from that account. All the money stays in there to make more pictures. So
People don't realize that either, the work and money and stuff you put into it yourself. They're, it's about, not, this is just generalized, but it's about them. They don't think about what you're going through, the situation you're dealing with. Look at the Nirvana baby. How many times is that baby sued over that CD cover? I
yeah,
mean,
it's crazy, isn't it?
constantly. He doesn't let it go. It's like, you have got to draw a line on that dude. Like,
Yeah, it is crazy, man. Let's see what else it says here. The Blair Witch Project became a pop culture phenomenon thanks to its shaky, handheld filming and mostly improvised dialogue, in addition to its shoestring budget and a quirky, I hate that word, internet marketing campaign. The movie, shot in about a week on a budget of $60,000, became a surprise commercial and critical smash, grossing almost 250 million.
damn,
That's less money than what we thought they made it on.
that's insane. 60. I don't know. What do you think of the whole style in general? What do you think of that style, the shaky camera? From your experience producing your own films, do you think that that style is easier to do?
Um,
Like,
it's definitely easier. Like, you still have to be conscious of what you're trying to do. You still have to want to do a good job. Like, you have to want to do good shaky camera work, and like you have to sell it. I think there's a spot for that for sure. Like, I like to use that as a trick for like maybe a shot or like a small part. Making a whole movie like that was what was a little um mind blowing to me, that it worked. It worked so well, and it worked really well for the studios, obviously. Um, but I mean, if their budget was 60,000, how much did the actors get paid initially? Like, that's
this
huge
the
difference.
film had a final cost of 200,000 to 750,000 after post-production edits.
Oh, okay.
But shot on an original budget of 35,000 to $60,000. So
Hmm.
it didn't say anything in here about paying. Like, did you remember reading anything about that?
Oh, it says right here, the actors received us. Okay, the actors, in an email was said one of the actors was paid $1,000 for 2 weeks of work. In addition, the actors were eventually paid $300,000 when they were bought out of their 1% stake. Okay, so they did give them a 1% stake into the film, saying that, like, hey, if this does blow up, you're going to get 1%. And they were bought out of that 1% for $300,000 each. So here's where they might not have a leg to stand on. They were bought out of their percent. They gave up their percent for 300 grand. And like, look, that movie's still making money today on stream revenue. Its name, its reboots, everything. If they would have held on to that 1%, they would really have something here. But think about it. Like, 300 grand is a lot of money, regardless of how, you know, regardless if this movie made 250 million. Imagine if you just all of a sudden had 300 grand today for a movie that you spent 2 weeks making.
But imagine how fast somebody that doesn't have any clue what to do with $300,000 is going to blow through it.
Well,
They're
that's
probably out buying houses and cars and, hooking up friends and family members. So that really doesn't go that far today if that's your only income.
yeah. But no, that is true. I mean, we're not talking about taxes here. Yeah, there's taxes on that, so you're not getting 300 grand first off. and yeah, we don't know what these people were like or what they were into back then. We didn't know if, you know, they had addictions or you know, they were gamblers. Maybe you never know. Like, yeah, 300 grand can see. I'm the kind of person, man. Like, I can make 300 grand stretch, um, because I'm just not. I don't know. I'm very. I know the word, man. Like, I
Frugal.
yeah, I guess frugal. Frugal, but I don't do it. I'm just like that though. It's not like I'm trying to be like that. I think I've just learned like how to be very good with money since I was 13 years old. Like, I've really paid attention to things and like why pay to eat a meal at this place when I could, you know, the cost that it would take to eat a meal at this place, I could eat 3 times that same day, you know, like in eating somewhere not as expensive or something.
Right.
Um, or why buy clothes here when I can, you know, these clothes here at the thrift store will do the same thing. Like, I don't know, but at 300 grand would last me a long time. But I know people that could run through that like it ain't shit.
Look at sports franchises and all these people, these kids that are just drafted and they're cutting them these $2-3 million checks, and now all of a sudden they're broke, completely flat broke. They are not taught the skills to manage money, period. You know, you have these young kids who are popular all of a sudden, so they're out at the clubs, you know, making it rain and spending it on things to be flashy. They're not making smart decisions, so you can blow through a couple $1,000,000 like it's nothing nowadays.
Very true. Yeah, everybody forgets about maintenance and upkeep. You know, like they want to buy the $1 million mansion, but then they don't realize, oh, you're gonna have to get insurance on that. Oh, you're gonna have to pay taxes on that. Oh, you gotta have the grass mowed, and your electric bill is gonna be crazy on $1 million mansion. Like, yeah, they definitely forget about these little things. Oh, your central heat and air just went out on a mansion. Guess what? Like, that ain't like it is on a little single family home. Um, yeah, money does not go far nowadays. You're right.
It doesn't, but I don't know. I feel their pain though. I just, if I knew that something, like if I wrote a book and I sold the rights to be, you know, to have it turned into a movie, am I not giving up my control over what I've generated, and they're going to turn around and make millions and millions of dollars off of something that I did, and you're just kind of like, well, damn.
Yeah, and that's usually exactly how it works. I don't know about book deals nowadays, but the last I did remember when I was trying to get a book deal years ago. Which, by the way, she's going to be the one to have a book deal, guys, because she's a hell of a writer. But I remember like 10 years ago, I was talking to somebody that knew an agent that was interested in something that I was writing, and they're like, "Well, hey, like whenever you're ready, like let's talk." And they kind of gave me the rundown on how it worked for them. And they said that they took their book, they did an agreement, they got a little upfront money. It was only like $6,000. And then, like, it started making a shitload of money. And their royalty checks were like this, like the book company, the publishing company was making hundreds of thousands for the first months that the book was out. And their royalty checks were only like 5 grand here, 5 grand there. So you just have to know, like, when you're jumping into these deals, you need to, I mean, the ball is on your court if somebody is willing to give you money for something, you know, whether it be a deal made, it really depends on you and if they're deal like people. Like I said, we've done projects where we know what our budget is, we know what we have, we're not, there's a reason why we're not like trying to get Robert England in the picture. There's a reason why we're not trying to get like, C-list actors, D-list actors, like even C-list and D-list, because in independent films, like if we blow all our money on, let's say, a name, um, think about all the stuff we could have done in the film, and if you go with like union actors, dude, union films, you have to have insurance, you have to have permits, you have to have crazy stuff down to a T. There is no cutting corners, no loopholes, by the book type shit. Have to pay your actors more money, and for indie horror films, man, that's hard if you don't have a producer, have a studio, you're not going to pitch meetings. I don't know any fucking body hardly in the industry I can just call and say, hey, I got this new picture I'm doing. Can I do this or that? Like, I'm funding my own shit. So like, it's just kind of, I sit down, I figure out what I got, what I can do with it, and I bring it to people. And if they like it, I hope they do. Cool. But if not, then you got to find somebody else that's hungry.
There's always going to be somebody that needs a snack.
There is. And most time people are I've only had like one or two people in the past just, complain. I know that we had this girl about 3 weeks ago, and the part was $200 for 6 hours of her time. But I reiterated to her, like, look, this may very well only take an hour and a half to 2 hours max, but it's still going to pay $200. She was coming from North Carolina, and she was like, wow. She was like, that's really generous. She's like, I've been in a couple dozen independent horror films and nobody has paid me like that. And I was like, well, what are you getting? She was like, I usually get $200 for like maybe 2 days on set, and they're usually 10 to 12 hour days. I'm like, whoa. Like, here I am, second picture, like barely into this thing, and like I was happy to hear somebody say, like, I was fair like that. And I felt like it too, like $200 for 6 hours of work. And like, you see how this goes. I mean, it can be quick or it can take a while. It just depends. You were easy to work with. Every actor in Mallet 2 has been so easy to work with. If an actor is giving you what you need, usually you can run through. The only time I can see you having to take 20 or 30 takes of a scene is if they're just not getting it. And then it can take more time because of them, not because of you.
Stumbling over your lines and bloopers and stuff like that. Yeah. I think I was you paid me to do the role I did too. And I wasn't there because I wanted to get paid. I just was happy to be there to do it. And I've done like music videos and stuff, and I didn't get paid anything for those. So maybe I'm used to not getting paid for my time in that aspect, but you definitely were like, no, I'm paying you and you're going to like it.
I do love paying people. And I mean, and honestly, I hope that the film goes really, really big so I can come back and bless everybody. I would love that. That made me happy. And not only that, as the company grows, so does what we pay people. I can already say that we've grown from the first Mallet movie. Like the first movie I shot, Mallet the Nightmare Begins, we were paying like $30 to $50 for a few hours of people's time, but we were also using people that had never acted in their life. Like, we thought it was going to be a lot tougher than it did, but there was shots we got on the first take. So since that film, we've grown to where now it's like, we're in like the $120 to $200 range per actor. And I honestly can't say there's one actor that we've worked with on either one of these movies that we have even spent 6 hours shooting one scene. We shot like 4 or 5 scenes in 6 hours.
Right. A scene that I thought was going to take half of the day took us, an hour? Less than an hour, maybe?
But you came prepared. You knew your lines, or if you didn't, if there was one you forgot, script on board, bam, this is the line, bam, you nailed it. Like, first take. If we took a second take, it's so we could have something to choose between. But like, yeah, I don't know. Looking at what they just said here, shaky camera work, the low budget, they didn't have high expectations. It almost sounds like they said, let's make a horror film, we're going to go out to the woods.
I mean, those are the best ones. They start out,
yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe their expectations were very low. Maybe it was their first shot at doing anything like it, and because it blew up, they want a piece of the pie. I totally get it. I do.
Yeah.
I just, it's hard because I don't really even think it's being greedy. I mean, if they got paid, but they took that $300,000, and that, like you said, that kind of screwed them, I think. That's,
Yeah.
uh,
In fact, I just found this right here where it says the actors were eventually paid the 300,000 when they were bought out of their 1% stake, which effectively shut them out from future residuals. They were not involved in the buyout negotiations, Leonard said in an email. So they took the deal, but they weren't involved in the negotiations for the deal. Sounds like maybe they had an attorney or an agent like work the deal on their behalf. They knew what money they were getting. And there's another thing. If you have an agent in there, there's 10% of whatever you get right there gone. If you have a lawyer, it could be half of what you get.
but did that deal too also involve their likeness being used in reproductions? There is that.
That's the question. That's the
Yeah.
big question. I don't see the a court document or anything here. It might be out there, and maybe we might resurface, come back to this. I just think it's an important conversation, and it'd be interesting to know people's thoughts on how this played out. I just know the way I do it. Perfect example right here. Krista, you're an actress. I just met you online. Hey, can I give you a call? Yeah, sure. Give me a call, Jody. Hey, Krista, it's nice to meet you. My name's Jody S. Dean. I'm working on a new horror film, and I would like for you to be in it. The role pays $120 for 6 to 10 hours of your time. However, I might only need you for maybe 3 or 4 hours. It depends how quick the production runs. Here's the part that you're going to be playing. Explain the part. I can send you the script if you like. Let me know. Okay, sure, Jody, I'd like to do it. Bam, we do it. 2 years later, that film's made $250 million. But when you showed up, you signed an agreement for that money. Where do you go from there?
I'm going straight to social media, and I'm going to let people know I was in that movie and hire me for your next role. You
That's
know, I'm
what
gonna
to do.
use,
I capitalize off that shit.
right. If I'm not getting any more money, I'm going to use it to maybe make myself a new role somewhere with somebody else, you know? There shouldn't be any rule in promoting yourself and what you've done. So if it's something popular, people are going to know who you are. So might as
Right.
well use that to your advantage.
I agree. Yeah, nowadays, had the Blair Witch come out, these guys could have been at every single Comic Con setting up a table and charging people to take a picture with them and bringing in $10,000 to $15,000 a weekend, going to Comic Cons all over the world. A lot of these actors nowadays, they're capitalizing past the movie deal. So like they might get shit for being paid, shit pay for being in a movie, but the aftermath, if the movie does good, has started them a whole new business. And yeah, now you're picking up better roles because you've been seen so much. You can say, hey, I was in the Blair Witch Project. Oh, no way. Well, look, man, we could probably pay you more money. I didn't ever see any of those actors again. If they were in more stuff, I didn't know about it. I don't remember seeing them in anything. I mean,
I don't either. And social media then was not what it is today. So it's
right.
not like they all had Instagram accounts and stuff, like all these followers based off of their roles. I bet you if we looked them up now, they probably have 3 or 400,000 followers.
It'd be interesting. That's a good question. Damn, I might do that after this video. I might look them up and see where they're at now. I definitely don't blame them for trying to get a little bit more money. We don't know what their life's like. I mean, they could have a loved one that's sick. They could be down on their luck, about to lose their home, and they're like, "Hey, you guys made $300 million. Let's try and get a few bucks here." But again, once you sign, it's usually over, especially if you sell your 1%. I mean, that's freaking huge. 1% in a movie like that.
Right.
Wow.
You, sorry, I just heard something that freaked me out.
Oh, Krista's place is haunted, guys. She's hearing stuff.
Tapped on my mirror. But I mean, they're paying for lawyers and stuff too. So obviously they have some kind of money to be able to do this, unless they're like, we get paid if you get paid. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. Like you said, it doesn't hurt to ask for more. But
I don't. It definitely doesn't hurt. Do I think it will happen? No, but I mean, what you just said right there, I'm pretty sure that a lawyer wouldn't take this without them paying unless they knew there was a hole in the initial contract. If a lawyer knows that they have a case, then they might take this and say, "Look, if we win, yeah, I'm getting 40%." Um, that that's the only way. It's usually 40 to 50% if they're going to take it and you're not going to pay. Um, because I can tell you, if they are paying this attorney, that's money right there that they could have saved and they would have been better off because this is an expensive law. You're suing Lionsgate Films.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
shit.
that is not an easy feat.
No, no way. Um, I never seen Book of Shadows. Did you actually see that?
I've seen them all. I'm a huge Blair Witch fan. I've seen them all, and I actually liked all three of them. The first one set the precedent, though. You cannot replicate the first one. So anything that's been done after that is not the same excitement, not the same vibe of watching it the first time. But yes, I've seen them and I loved them, and they were mentioned. The characters were mentioned again quite a few times, actually.
Mm,
Yeah, I get. I mean, I get what they're saying.
yeah. There might be something there. There might again, if an attorney is handling this, then maybe there is something there he's seen. But I think
Isn't it,
ultimately it's up to a jury.
there's video? I think there's a video game too. I don't think it's just movies. I think there's a game that's out too.
Oh, is there a Blair Witch video game?
I think so. I'm
Yeah,
gonna look that up. I'm 90% sure there's a video game.
1% of $100 million is a million.
Video, definitely video games. It's like I know I've seen one.
You know that? That's crazy. 1% of $100 million is $1 million.
Wow.
So $250 million. That's $2.5 million each. These actors could have got had they had not sold their 1%.
They should just give it to them. Come on. It's not, what is it, like a drop in their $250 million bucket?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
only three of them, right? Three actors.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I just said today. I was talking to Anthony, and I said, I was telling him like because we were talking about this, and I was like, dude, I said if Mallet 2, like made like $20 million, I was like, I would just randomly just like come back and bless like all these people, and it would blow their minds. But and he was like, wow, he's like, you would really do that? And I said, yeah, because I said, think about it like this. That word's going to get around to people and they're going to want to work with you because like you're a good person, you do good business, and not only that, if you make that kind of money, that means you're doing something right. So it's hard to make films pop, especially independent films. Like you have to really have something special to get on the radar. I mean, it's not like every indie horror that comes out people rave about. There's a couple handfuls that are really on people's radar that they're going to buy the t-shirts, the posters, the get the tattoos. You got Terrifier, you got Hatchet, you got Chucky, you got I mean, you think about it, there's really not a lot compared to the amount of uh shovelware that's coming out, which a lot of people would call it that shovelware is films that and music they call it shelfware. But with movies, um there's just tons of indie horrors. If you go on Tubi, if you go on Screambox, if you go on all these different Prime, and you just look at all the indie horrors that are out there, some of them will never know what it's like to profit at all.
That's scary that you say that, but it's also true. And the sad thing about that is some of those movies are better than the stuff that's being released with production companies in the theaters. The
Yeah,
writing's better, the acting is better, the storyline is better, it's more unique. It's not just a franchise, it's redoing the same things. It's individuals and their creative minds, and so like starving artist syndrome, you have all this talent and it just doesn't get recognized the way it deserves.
I'm 100%. I agree, and I love my indie horror people, man, and I don't care if it's like one of those here to stay things or not. I'm the same as I love watching and see creativity. I've always said that, you know, if you have $50 million, you lose your creativity because then you can just say, I want this happen, I want this. Bam, people do it for you. It's done, right? When you make a movie on $50, you're figuring out a way to make things interesting and you're touching new ideas and new parts of your brain and new parts of film that you figure out how to do things when you don't have a lot to work with. um, you don't have a way to get this helicopter, fucking build a zip line. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you really do. You go to areas. I've done it, and Mallet too. I've done it like crazy, but I love that when I see indie horror films and I see them do something that I've never seen before, and I'm like, those boys didn't have any money and they figured it out, you know.
That's when you have the big guys knocking at your door, wanting to take the rights over to the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, and you sell your 1%.
Right. It's wrong. It's not right that they do that, but they know what they're doing. And the actors, they have no idea. They're like, $300,000? Damn. That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah,
Was it when
three
was the
G's back
first
then
one?
would have been a lot of money.
Was it 1999 the first one came out?
Yep, 1999. Hey, listen, 300 G's in 1999 would have been a lot better than if you had 300 G's now. Nowadays, 300 G's is not a lot.
It's like
Back
a
in
trip to
the
Costco.
time, you know, what'd you say?
Trip to Costco.
Oh,
I'll be right back. Drop $300,000. You come home with like a trunk full.
the studio took the risk in acquiring it, paying them a set amount, and they could have shared the risk with the studio, Romano said. Instead, they did not at the time of the sale. He said, adding, they are trying to renegotiate the deal after the fact. The film's success spurred two sequels, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 in 2000, and Blair Witch in 2016. Myrick and Sanchez were executive producers on both projects and co-writers on one. Both were commercial disappointments. There is also a Blair Witch themed immersive escape room in Las Vegas. I didn't know this. Some of the creative personnel attached to the original film were caught off guard by the news. At this point, it's 25 years of disrespect from the folks who've pocketed the lion's share, pun intended, of the profits from our work. And that feels both icky and classless, Leonard said on Instagram. Both Blum and Lionsgate declined to comment. Representatives from Myrick and Sanchez did not respond to requests for comment.
Did they say icky for real? They said icky.
Icky.
That's so icky.
That sticky, icky. Oh, wait.
Bullshit.
Wow. Yeah,
So
I'm going to go to their Instagrams after this.
Are you really? You're going to have to let me know.
I'm going to try and get them on here to interview them.
You probably could. I bet you. They're
we'll
hungry.
fuck the lawsuit. We'll fuck the whole thing up for them.
You have to have them sign something so they can't turn around and come after you if your podcast takes off in a year from now.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm not interviewing these guys, man. I'm sorry.
Did you say there was 4 movies? Did I hear you correctly? I thought there was 3, or did I just?
Well, there's 3, but it seems like there's another one in the pipeline they're talking about, or at least that's what I get from like the title of what I'm reading.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it seems like there is going to possibly be another Blair Witch coming. They do this. Listen, any film that is successful or somewhat successful will get another film down. Hell, my film only sold 7,000 DVDs, the first one, and I'm doing a sequel not even a year later. If you have some traction with something, you run with it.
Yeah. People aren't going to expect your second one. I'm just saying, it's It's not a sequel. Well, it is, but it's
It could stand on its own.
yeah.
It's if you could watch it, and if you never seen the first one, you would watch it and just be like, oh, holy shit, like this is, its own thing. But also, if you've seen part one, then it does definitely it will excite you even more. But yeah, you just never know what's going to happen with anything. At the end of everything I make, I do not think dollar signs. I do not think money. Like that's the last thing on my mind. I told you before we even started this, we were talking about something, and I'm like, money is great. You got to have it to live. You got to have it to do these projects. But at the end of the day, I would be happy just being able to continuing to do these projects, do these films, and that's really my ultimate goal, man, is just to keep it going and live simple, live easy. I've come to find that like I have everything I could ever want, man. Like my video game collection could not get any bigger. I have my own library of horror films. I'll never run out of horror films for the rest of my life. um I'm very simple. I'm easy. I'm fucking easy.
That's that's the fact that you're passionate. When you're passionate, money doesn't matter. You're doing what you love and you're happy with yourself inside, and living simply the way that you do is true happiness. People are in debt because they want to live outside of their means. I see that's why people are buying the minivans that they live in now. It's like
Oh
you
yeah.
work for what you have. So if you don't want to work the rest of your life, don't go buy a $500,000 house that you can't afford. Get a van and live in it, or an apartment, or a tiny house. You want all these nice things, these nice cars, these nice brand name shoes. And so you got to work for it. And you get stuck in this cycle of working for the things that you need or that you want, not necessarily that you need. I don't
That's
know.
facts. Yeah. Yeah, go to Panera Bread. Shop at Walmart.
Paneer is expensive. It was like $18 last time I got a bowl of soup. It's like I'm gonna go buy some at the grocery store.
All right. Well, you know what? In all fairness, I have noticed that. Okay, I have noticed there are certain places in certain states that charge different. Okay, so like the IHOP in Florida, in this one area I go to, guys, it was talking there and it got cut off. Man, we got some crazy storms coming in. But I was just saying, some places have different prices in different places. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but I see that all the time. Have you ever seen that before? Yeah.
Yes, especially Colorado to Texas. Huge difference. Like Las Vegas, Mickey D's, when I was there, they didn't have a dollar menu. Colorado, they have a dollar menu.
No dollar menu, man. Now that's a real life horror right there.
Right? We thought we were going to go save some money and go run to get a snack at Mickey D's. We're like, where's the dollar menu? We don't have one, ma'am.
You gotta have a dollar menu, man. People need to be able to eat. They can't afford to eat. Like food's expensive, bro. I know a lot of families. I have a lot of friends that live off the dollar menus, and thank God they have those for the people out there that need them. So guys, listen, Krista and I both appreciate you so much, your time. We love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully these are things that a lot of people don't think about, how this industry works and what could happen. I love stories like these though, because as a filmmaker, as an actress, as actors, it definitely teaches us all something and something to look forward to. And hey, maybe you guys might want to take a look at a contract out there and say, hey, you got $200,000 of a budget here. This could end up being a big thing. Do you think I could get 1%? I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, they might say no, and it's up to you from there, right?
100%. Maybe it's a lesson for people going forward. You don't want to short yourself.
Yeah. More, well, 1%, not 100%, 1%.
Or that 40 your lawyer's about to get.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. Well, Krista, thank you so much for, always being the gem that you are, chopping it up with me here.
My pleasure. It's easy to talk with you, so I think, it's always a good time.
It is always a good time. I love it. Yeah.
Oh my
Um, Guys, we love you so much, truly. We'll see you here in a few days. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff. And we'll see you at the party in the comment section below. Now, we'll see you in a few days, guys. Love you so much. Until then, sweet nightmares.